What's good, everyone? This is Dr. Nee Darko. Make sure you hit the subscribe button below so that you're always up to date on the new uploads as well as alerts on this show. The other thing that you can do to help build this community is make sure you leave a comment below. Let us know what you like, what you don't like about the show, and ultimately, let us know who's winning these arguments, because I need to know that I'm beating Renee in these debates. Run the tape. This is a question that we've gotten from Philip. And Philip says, my wife and I love your podcast. We're interested in starting our own locums company. Everybody wants to start a locums company.
Yeah, man. And everybody should.
They're competing with us. How do you negotiate rates with the hospital? I.e., what's a typical rate charged by an agency versus what you'd be paid as an individual? How do you approach getting medical malpractice coverage? Is it on the individual or on the agency? Are the rates negotiated in addition to travel expenses, or is it inclusive? Thanks for putting this info out there. More physicians need to be empowered with this kind of knowledge. Philip. Damn, Philip, you want to know everything?
Thanks, Dr. Phil.
Okay.
That's Dr.
Dr. Phil.
Zismore. Oh, Dr. Phil from the TV. Okay, got you. All right, so look, these are great questions. We're not going to be able to answer all of that today. So I think what we'll do is we'll keep it to two things, and then we'll talk about the others later. So Let's talk about, are the rates negotiated in addition to travel expenses, or is it inclusive, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next one we'll cover is, how do you approach getting medical malpractice coverage?
Okay.
Is it on the individual or on the agency?
Mm-hmm.
So
those are probably the biggest questions that people want to know.
So let's just really quickly, for folks, the pre-meds, the med students out there, you want to describe what locums is real quick?
So locum tenens, which is the official term, technically means placeholder. And so what that means is that you have a doctor who comes in and does coverage for various reasons for a facility. So let's say the facility has a doctor who went out on maternity leave, or the facility has someone who's on vacation, on an extended vacation, or the facility just wants someone who is in the rotation, right? Maybe their doctors are kind of tired of taking call every single weekend, and they want someone in their rotation, or the facility actually has a need where they need to hire another doctor, but they just haven't gotten to the point of being able to hire someone. So there's like a space, right? A vacancy. So that's where a locum tenens doc, or an independently contracted doc who is not employed. This person is not employed by the hospital. They make a contract just like a plumber would with you at your house. The doctor makes a contract with the hospital to essentially fill whatever void that the hospital has. How'd I do?
You did good. That's a really good definition. That's the reason why I asked you to do it, because I know that you will break it down so it forever be broke. Cue to Love Jones.
Let me break it down so it can forever and consistently be broke. Okay.
Look it up. If you know, you know. Right. So yes, locum tenens, that's how we've been practicing for almost 12 years now. Mm-hmm. And we've been fully locums for now 7 years. Mm-hmm. Right. And this is the way how we like to practice. I still get paid just as much, possibly even more, than doctors who are salaried or employed. I just feel like I'm in that much more control over my schedule. I can work around like really big events in my life, as opposed to hoping that, I have time off, or hoping that, the time that I need off is taken into consideration by who's doing the schedule.
Except this year you are working on your anniversary. Boom! Called you out.
But it's our 11th anniversary.
And what does that mean? So it don't count?
It counts, but it's not the same.
Same as what?
It's not the same as the 10th anniversary, babe.
What we do for the 10th anniversary?
We was together.
And that's all that matters.
And if y'all listen to our show, and I know you guys listen to our previous episodes, we trying to get a house. We need to get a down payment, and stop tripping. Stop tripping, yo. This is a season. Folks, before we get into Philip feels like, man, would y'all just answer the goddamn question? If you just answer the question, you can answer all my damn questions, right? That's what he's saying. Sorry, Phil. That's just, come on.
You don't have to suffer.
But listen, like, anybody who is concerned about, like, for locums, like, if you don't work, then you don't get paid.
Right.
Right. That's just how it works. Right. If you don't work, then you don't get paid. Whereas if you're salaried, you get time off, you're still getting paid. There's some advantages to it and there's some disadvantages to it. But one of the biggest things that people think about with locums is, look, I eat what I kill. When I work, I get paid. If I don't work, I don't get paid. Right. And you have to be really you have to put a checks and balances on that because, you can go really overboard. And I think most people who switch to locums, that's the biggest issue that they have is they actually find themselves working too much. Right. Because nobody's keeping track of how many hours you're working. And they're just like, look, I'm just going to keep working and, I'll take several weeks off afterwards. But yeah, I'll do 3 weeks in a row or 4 weeks in a row. And it's like, well, that's not even how you work full time, right? Full time, you usually work 3 weeks in a row or maybe 2 weeks in a row and then you have some time off.
If you're a trauma surgeon.
If you're a trauma surgeon.
Not most people. Not normal people. And trauma surgeons are not normal people.
We're not.
All right. Let's answer the question so that Phil can go about his day.
Yeah. So let's do the first one, which is medical malpractice. So there's two ways that you can get medical malpractice, right? You can either get it yourself or you can get it through the hospital.
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to tell you straight up right now, we think the easiest way is to let the hospital get medical malpractice for you. And Dr. Renee, you say why? Because...
I say why. Hold on, my allergies are acting up. But yes, I say why I like to have the hospital do it. One, it's a little bit of a cleaner way to do it, right? First of all, if the hospital gets the malpractice, that's less work on your end to be able to basically have malpractice coverage. We've tried that before in the past, and it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's convoluted, but it's also not a very seamless process to be able to get malpractice coverage as an individual. You can do it, and we have done it successfully, but it's not a very smooth process. The other thing is it's more expensive for the hospital to have us get the medical malpractice as individuals, because then what happens is, and which is what happened to us, is that the price as an individual is going to be way higher. Now, as individuals, as the person who's coming in and, doing the locums business for, covering for the hospital, that hospital is going to be the one to foot the bill anyway. So we're going to get billed by the malpractice insurance agency. Then we're going to hand that bill over to the hospital, and the hospital is going to balk at it, which is exactly what happened. The hospital is going to balk at it and be like, we can get this cheaper, which is what we told them to do in the first place.
Well, what if someone comes back to you? What if Phil comes back to you and says, but Dr. Renee, isn't that the cost of doing business? Right?
That is the cost of doing business for the hospital. See, I don't need medical malpractice as an individual physician who doesn't have my own practice. The only reason I need malpractice insurance if I'm working for a facility is because I'm working at that facility. So that's the cost of them doing business, not me, because I don't have patients on the side that I'm doing, that I'm practicing on. So that's why it is their job to actually cover the malpractice regardless of who gets it.
So basically, if you're saying, okay, let's say, for example, a family med doc is going to get paid $100 an hour. Please don't take those rates.
I was going to say.
I'm just dumbing it down, right?
Really?
But let's just say, for example, a family medicine doc wants to do locums and is going to charge $100 an hour. Well, if you have to provide your own medical malpractice, so you have to go to a company, get medical malpractice to do this locum stint, then my opinion is you should be actually increasing your rate to take into account that you're purchasing your own medical malpractice. So instead of it being 100, it should be maybe, 120 an hour or 130 an hour.
You really are dumbing this down, huh?
It should be, but the other thing too is you want to keep it realistic for folks also, right?
Right.
Because if you just say, now it's $300 an hour, right? Then it's like, well, you also have to consider that it takes time to pay this off, right? So you have to be really specific about. I just want to give a really good example of what we're talking about here, guys. So if you want to charge $100, but it's actually costing you $30 an hour to get medical malpractice, well, now you're only making $70, right? So you're actually going in the red to get your own medical malpractice.
Right.
So what ends up happening is all hospitals have medical malpractice that they have for all their employed doctors. And in order for them to add you on as an independent contractor onto their insurance, it's usually a very nominal cost that they don't even have to pay much for at all. So it always just makes sense, in our opinion, to just tell the hospital, listen, if you really want us to work here, you want me or whoever else to work here, cover us under your medical malpractice. We'll stay as locums. You don't have to pay any other benefits. You don't have to pay, 401k. You don't have to pay disability insurance. You don't have to pay health insurance, any of those things. And it ends up being an easy situation for us. I think most hospitals that have common sense will ultimately say yes, and it'll be easier for you. So, but there are scenarios where the hospital will be like, listen, we want to keep everything separate.
Right.
And one of the hospitals that I worked at, that's what they said. We'll keep everything separate. You get your own medical malpractice. You let us know what the rate is, and then we'll go from there. And I was like, bet. And I charged them appropriately, and, it was a good situation. And I got occurrence-based insurance. But we could talk about that.
Which is way more expensive.
But I didn't have to pay tail. And that's the reason why I did that.
And that's the reason,
That's why I wanted to do that. So, Phil, I hope that answers that one part of your question. Anything else you want to add on that at all?
For malpractice? No. I mean, just know, I would say, if you do end up getting your own malpractice, just know what your state requires in terms of coverage, and make sure that the medical malpractice insurance company presents you with those types of plan options.
And real quick, if you need a place to start about what's the rates and all that, it all depends, right? How much you should be charging, right? Basically, that's the question. How much should I charge a hospital so I can get paid? That's tough, right? There's a school of hard knocks where you try and you just go out there and see what happens, and you might end up...
You get burned.
You might end up undercutting yourself, right? But I think a really good place to start is actually locumstory.com. If you go to locumstory.com, Alfred, if you could put it below, locumstory.com, they do a really good job of teaching you like the ins and outs of locums, giving you stories of people who do locums. I'm talking about like physician assistants, nurse practitioners, physicians,
different specialties,
different specialties from orthopedic surgeons all the way to OB to, allergy and immunology. And the one thing that I think is extremely powerful about this site is that it actually gives you rate ranges. So it lets you know, like, what's the rate, what's the going rate for a trauma surgeon in the Midwest as compared to, the East Coast. And I like that. So, that's a good starting place.
Yeah.
So that's a place that I think you should check out. Now,
I'll tell you one more thing about the rates. One of the things that I took into consideration was, at one point I took what was my salary as a W-2, and then I broke it down until I got to, per hour, increased that by about between 30 and 50%. And then made that my rate.
Yes.
So that's another way that you can decide like what your rate is going to be. So you switched up how your chair is now?
Yeah, I'm tired. This gives me more active. Like, I feel more active like this because I'm for real tired. But Philip, I love you. And that's why I'm doing this for you. I'm doing this for you. All right. So your second question that we're going to answer is,
I don't know you like that, yo.
The rates negotiated in addition to travel expenses, or is it inclusive? So no. So rates are separate than your travel expenses.
Yeah.
Right? This is the cost of business. This is what's the word I want to say? This is par for the course. Don't go and mess this up for everybody else. All right, Phil? So listen, how much you get paid is separate than how much it costs you to get to the site. Remember that. And to stay there.
Yes.
Do not mess this up for everybody else and be like, my rate also is going to pay for my hotel.
Why are you yelling at Phil, though?
No, because people like Phil be messing things up and stuff.
What do you mean? He just asked a question. What do you mean people like Phil? You know Phil.
Phil, don't mess it up, yo. Listen.
Phil was like, first of all, you just told me you love me. Now you're yelling at
Phil,
me. What is this?
Don't mess it up, yo.
What kind of
I'm looking at you right in the
this?
camera. Phil, I hope you're not just listening to this on the audio version because I know you're a good fan. You're a good subscriber and you're watching this on YouTube.
Oh my God.
Listen, Phil.
Poor Phil.
Stop playing. You get your rate of how much it costs to do whatever medical work that you got to do. And that's your rate. And then, whatever is the normal. So the way how they pay for transportation is whatever it costs for a rental car. If you need to use a rental car, that's how much it's going to cost to do the rental car plus gas. If you're going to use your own car, then it's the IRS mileage times, the mileage that you've done, right? The mileage rate times the miles that you've done. Or if you need to fly, then it's coach. All right. Whatever the coach ticket is from wherever you want to go to wherever you need to get to. And then also the hotel, right? And that's it. And those are separate.
What if you do locums close to home? Let's say we live here and the hospital's 15 minutes away.
So if you do locums close to home, then all you have to do is worry about your gas, right? Or your mileage. So basically, whatever the mileage is from your house to that hospital is reimbursable, right? So you would just take the IRS mileage rate, which is like 67 cents.
Yeah.
67 cents per mile. Multiply that. You said 15 miles?
Yeah.
Times 15. And
do the math.
And that's your, Alfred, put it down below, please. 67 cents times 15 miles, right? And that will be what your reimbursement rate is.
A whole lot of dollars.
And that's how it works, So that's why rates negotiated in addition to travel expenses, or is it inclusive? It is not the latter. It is rates, and then separate is travel expenses, and that's it. All right. And even that's it. Wait, what else can we talk about that? That's it, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty straightforward.
It. Yeah, I think that's it. So wait, one more thing. Actually, I did think about, because I was thinking about Dr. Trevor, who we did a podcast episode with him a couple of years ago. And if you, for example, do locums, let's say in Phoenix, but then you have your next locums assignment somewhere else where you don't live, right? You have your next locums assignment, let's say in Seattle. You can actually have them pay to fly from Phoenix to Seattle, right? So
the next job.
The next
assignment can fly you from where you are in your locums assignment.
Right. So you don't have to go back to home base
and
then have them fly you out there. You can just have whatever your starting point is, have them start you from there. So
Phil, I'd like you to write in back to us on text, or send us by text, or however way you want to get in contact with us. Let us know why you want to get your own locums company. I'm really interested into that. Do you really want to have your own company / agency where you are working with other docs and you're sending them out, or is it just for you?
Yeah, because that makes a difference.
That makes a difference. So I'm super interested as to why. So for us, we started off just as me and Renee as our company. And then we got a great opportunity to bring on other OB docs, and we became an agency, and it was great.
Yeah, for
it was
3
amazing.
years.
So now we're back to just being a company of just me and Renee, and it's still great also. But folks, I just want folks to kind of understand that there's a difference.
Yeah.